Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining another episode of the Invite podcast. All of this is geared around the opportunity that someone took to say yes, to pursue their dreams, their passion, to really look what maybe society or mainstream would say as the safe choice and instead do something new and different. Today, I'm joined by a truly amazing person and really remarkable story on the back end of that, Sal Coca from Hypo Footwear. So, while we dive into those conversations, I want to say thank you to a couple sponsors, one being 11 Ventures, who is really charting the course for how we can start to, as a culture, realign the way people find meaningful work and get connected into skilled trade environments. And then the next one is Skill Squatch, who is also doing a lot of that training to just really help employees get the right support and encouragement and adequate skill development they need once they get into a role. So post graduation, post applying, now they're in the role. That's Skill Squatch. So thank you to both of those sponsors for today's episode. With that, I'd like to welcome in Sal Coca. Hello, Sal. It's so good to see you as always. Always a treat to have any time with you. So thank you for carving out some time today to join the invite.
Cool. Thanks, Beth. Always good to catch up.
Yes. So, here we are, here you are, several years into your journey into the footwear space. But it's not just footwear, it's apparel, it's mentorship, it's guiding, it's education, it's looking at what you can do for Wyoming, for a state that did a lot for you as you were growing up. So, what kind of theme do you want to start with? If you don't mind, I'd love to start talking about exactly like what was on your plate today and what are you looking forward to this particular week? What does a week look like for Sal Coca?
Yeah. So right now we're in the midst of releasing or getting our production run from Taiwan here. So I got to send some money this week down to Taiwan to get the remainder of the. Or when you get a production run done, you pay half of it for them to start and then when they're finished, then you pay the other half for them to get sent over here. So that's kind of what we're doing right now. But no, we're just trying to kind of get our marketing plan on the release of them. So we were going to release them here in a week or so, as far as starting to pre-order some of the stuff. But I don't want to rush it, so we're going to wait probably at the end of January, just because I'll let the Christmas rush go through, let the people settle down for the month of January, and then start releasing them in probably early February. But we could probably start the order process next month. So, but we want to put a little, a proper marketing campaign for the release, and then go from there. So that's what I'll be doing this week. But there's always something to do. You know what I mean? Like it's I've kind of got a working knowledge of all aspects of the business, from designing to a little bit of marketing to a little bit of just reaching out in sales and stuff like that, and getting your plan together. So we finally got some investors coming on, so we're kind of redoing our whole plan for the next 3 or 4 years. So there should be 2026 should be the year that we kind of get really going and stuff like that. So
Wow. Congratulations. Congratulations on the investors. I want to hear more about kind of that process around like how long did it take? When did you get started to where you are today in an active relationship with investors? But I also think it's like pretty amazing that you're saying like 2026 is going to be the year. So thank you for giving me and the podcast some of your time,
yeah.
because you're going to be hard to find here in a very short period of time. Already hard to connect with you. So I can only imagine how it's going to be. So you'll remember the early days and the relationship and friendship that we have. We met probably 5 years ago or so, 6 years pre-COVID. So
Pre-COVID,
6 or so years ago already. And at that time, you had already done a tremendous amount around Hypo and the label and the brand and the product. But like before we jump into kind of where you are today on the marketing and the investor side, I think it's helpful to know that like that's where you are today, but at some point you had to get started.
Yeah.
So tell me how you took out of this, if you can go back in time to this fifth grader of yourself and started to say, like, yeah, this is something I'm really interested in, to the point where now all of a sudden you're saying, like, and maybe you're in young adulthood, you're saying like, this is actually worth it for me to like put all the chips in the center and say I'm in. Now,
Yeah, so like being a sneaker culture is it's kind of has its own little sect on the world. It's popular. There's a lot of buying and trading of old Jordans and stuff like that. So it's a kind of a trendy little culture. And I was always a sneakerhead growing up. Like I liked shoes, not just buying them, but I liked designs and this over here and the strap here and all that stuff. So I was always that kid going through the East Bay magazine looking at all the shoes. But I never, growing up, I never thought of it as a career. I was just interested. And I played basketball a lot, so basketball sneakers are kind of the pinnacle of shoes. So it kind of filters down from basketball down, of like the culture of sneakers and stuff like that. But no, I got my degree. I played some basketball in college up in Montana. I got burnt out, finished up at the University of Wyoming, and I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I was that kid. So I got a job in Fort Collins. I worked there probably too long, about 10 years, but I was miserable. I didn't know what I always wanted to be an entrepreneur, do something different. And I always kind of kept up on the industry. And it's not a normal industry. It's not just like, I want to start a shoe company. What I probably should have done is been more patient and maybe got a job for a sneaker or something like that, just to learn that, because I made some mistakes early. But and then again, I was like, well, if I'm going to invest a lot of my own money, I might as well, learn, take my lumps and learn. And I did. I wasted a lot of money early on being impatient and kind of not prioritizing the right things. But it wasn't for a lack of trying or a lack of effort or anything. It was just misguided and learning, learning on the job. So we got it launched, and we're profitable. We were profitable and all that stuff, but we weren't. I was at a point about 5 years ago. It's like, do I just put a lot of my money into a huge marketing campaign and all that stuff and build like that, or do I try to find that shiny new object and bring investors on? And we kind of got lucky and got connected with a Taiwanese company through the state of Wyoming, through the business council. And then we went from there as far as like on this technology and stuff. And then I kind of said, well, we can put it on some collab shoes where both of our logos are on. And then my goal is to improve the technology. And that's what we're going to be doing in 2026, is upgrading it to even like from lifestyle to sportswear and to different looks of it and stuff like that. So we finally think we have our shiny new object to bring to the market. And it's just, as far as bringing on investors, the right people that want to invest and stuff like that. So that's kind of been the process the last few months, and that'll be the process like the next few years probably. Like we'll probably continue to bring on more investors and stuff, because that's a job in itself of finding investors. It's not fun. Even when you have something that is worth investing in, it's like finding the right people and the right amount of money in the right situation with equity, or do you want to do just, kind of ROI, all that stuff. So it's another job in itself. And it's been probably the most difficult part of running the company and trying to find investors, because everything costs. You can't just you can put something out on the internet or whatever like that, but it's not as easy as it as it kind of you might think. It's a job in itself with the documents and getting in front of people and that stuff. And a lot of time it's about time and all that stuff. So I'll have a little bit more time to do more of that early next year, but it's not fun. So, yeah.
No, I can't imagine. It's not fun having to go to the bank for really any reason, let alone now all of a sudden you're sourcing individuals for really that, like, elements of that relationship.
Yeah.
And then getting people to buy into your vision, which I think you do a really compelling job of sharing. And you also have just a great energy about yourself. So already you probably have a leg up than some other folks. But like you mentioned, the Wyoming Business Council, and every state, as far as I know, has that equivalent. of business counsel support and services that they provide to entrepreneurs who are in their state ecosystem. Is that something that you would recommend to early and young entrepreneurs, that when they're ready to really start to engage with their business counsels?
So I could go on about this part for a long time. We've had some conversations about this. So yes and no. You should always reach out to all the resources, whether it's the business council, whether it's small business administration, whether it's any incubator or accelerator program and stuff like that. But I'm going to be honest with you, there is not a lot of help out there. It's not anybody's fault. It's just like there isn't much. There's some, you might get some mentorship in some direction as far where you could get like a loan or a bank, but there isn't a lot of help out there. So a lot of what you're going to do is you're going to learn by making mistakes. You might get some guidance and a push this way from somebody, but it's not a very, it's a lonely business. You know what I mean? And I don't, it's
Mhm.
kind of hard to, it depends what you're in. If you're service-based, product-based, all that stuff, and how much money you need, you know, financing, all that stuff. But you're going to have to learn a lot on your own, and you're going to have to push and push. Because even when you send emails to organizations, state organizations, all that stuff, you don't get responses right away. There's things get lost, and they're busy, and it's like it's not a very efficient industry. There needs to be, and just in my opinion, like an overhaul of state-run business, like the whole ecosystem. And it's not that they're not trying, and they're busy, but it's you're dealing with entrepreneurs. They have to know, they got to go. They need answers. They got to go. And there's not a lot of resources out there. And so hopefully when Hypo gets a little bigger, I can kind of come back and help with that, because like there's probably a lot of people that fall through the cracks that they can't help because they don't have the right resources or stuff. So yeah, I would recommend anybody start to reach out, especially in the beginning, to find any sort of help. You know, like I said, they might get some help and they might get directed to somebody that can help them.
Mm-hmm.
But the reality is, and I think you know too from there's not a lot of help in the beginning. They'll help you when you're at that point of like, you might not need it. You know what I mean?
Yep.
But that's the entrepreneur part. It kind of, but it allows you to toughen up and grow and get up all the time, because you're going to get told no a lot and have doors shut in your face a lot. And unless you're paying somebody, you're not going to get much help. So it's just one of those things that you learn the hard way a lot of the time. But I don't want to discourage any entrepreneur, because but I would, if someone would have told me that from the beginning, it would have saved me a lot of money and a lot of time in a lot of areas. But then again, it's one of those things you have to learn sometimes by messing up. So
Yeah, just doing that yourself. So I feel like I'm hearing you say, like, knowing the expectations of the people you're reaching out to is probably really important, to not go into these state, local, nonprofit organizations with the expectation that they're going to be there to help, from mentorship to financial support, that instead it's one more resource, view it as such, see what can come out of it. And it sounds like through the Wyoming Business Council, you were able to get a relationship with this company over in Taiwan. So that I'm interested to hear much more about. But one thing I've started to notice is, like, the power of connections and networking is almost becoming a lost art. And I don't know if it's AI driven or whatever it might be, but I think what it's going to do is return a lot of folks back to conversations like we're having, that I can see you're a real person. It'd be really great if we were in the same room always. That doesn't always happen this day and age. But at this, like, leading into that, it's the networking that probably even comes at a higher price tag than we realize. And in entrepreneurship, it's like, sometimes it's like, I just need money to keep the lights on. It's like, but also like keeping sight to those relationships that can come from one more network, one more relationship, one more handshake, one more introduction, and so forth. So, now through Wyoming Business Council, you've now found yourself in a relationship with a resource that's probably going, it sounds like, really able to help you grow your vision.
Yeah. So that's one thing I would say, and not to discourage them, especially early. I would say go to all the mixers, the business meetups, go to all those things, go to the networking things, go to these like, there's always like expos and trade shows that are going on in the summers, like in Denver and all that stuff. Do all of those small business expos, go to all of those and meet people, take your card and talk to people just to see what they're doing. There's always going to be other small businesses there. There's going to be banks there, loan officers there. There might be some angel investors there. There's always going to be something there. So even if not everyone you're going to get something from, but I would take all those meetings and go to all those things. And so that shows that you're hustling and you're willing to give your card out and show them what you're doing and tell them what you're doing, and you'll learn some things. But yeah, continue to reach out to everybody, especially early. Take every meeting you can. I went to small business groups. I went to mixers. I went to a lot of things. And it's just like you said, you might meet that right person that can help you. So do that stuff and reach out to people that are maybe in your industry and say, can I come in and talk to you? Can I learn? Can I do this? Can I do that? And a lot of them are going to tell you no. They just don't, because if you're a competitor or you're in there, they're not going to help you. And you can't be sensitive to like, oh, I'm a guy that I hold grudges and stuff a lot. I remember if you helped me when I was young or when I was younger, or you at least gave me the time of day, like you might not have been able to help me, but you gave me the 20-minute meeting and said, yeah, I can't help you now. I'm not, but when you're at this level, I can help you or direct you. I'll remember that you were honest with me and you told me that I can always, because I feel like I'm always open to helping somebody. I've never been like that where I can't help you. If I can talk to you for 10 minutes, I will. But I remember the people that just dismissed you and discarded you and stuff like that. So, but no, take every meeting, do podcasts, call people, even if someone, they might not even be in your industry, but they might be able to help you somewhere. Go to the tech show, the shows, the trade shows, the conferences. Hey, you never know who you're going to meet. You never know what you're going to get. I remember I went to one like when I was just starting, and it was a company called Zoom was there, and they're like, do you use video conferencing? And I'm like, not really, or like I was just kind of like, I don't. And they're probably they're everywhere, but like, no, it's just one of those things. It's good to network and learn, and you meet people in different areas and stuff, and it can only help. It can only help. So yeah, take all those meetings, do all that. Don't get discouraged, because the business is brutal, and there's a lot of people. There's a lot of sharks out there. There's a lot of people that they just will dismiss you. They don't want to give you the time of day. They're just kind of like, so be prepared for that, but don't get discouraged. Just keep getting up. And if you want it bad enough, you'll find your way. I mean, like I said, it might take longer than you think, but you'll find your way. So
you've always said, stay hungry. And I've noticed that, like, you certainly have embodied that, but I think that's one of the first things that you said. And I actually wrote it down on a little card that's been hanging next to my office ever since then, quoted by you. It's attributed to you, but I think that's a really great piece of advice to just kind of carry with anyone wherever they go. But like, what were some of the ways entrepreneurship is hard? And what were some of those ways that you got up after no, after no, after no? And I think sometimes we use the word rejection after rejection. I think that's maybe a little harsh, but because someone could just say no, I don't have time. And I don't know that I would mean that oh, what a severe rejection. But to what are some of those tools that you think a young entrepreneur should start to develop early on if they want to be successful and have the endurance to stick with it?
Well, there's a few. There's fortitude. There's stubbornness. There is. Here's the thing with me is, I don't like being told what to do or anything. I hated having a job and working for people. Most importantly, I don't like being on somebody else's time. I hated it. I was miserable, and that was my thing. So I don't have a plan B. I mean, I have a degree. I can go always back to doing stuff like that, but I want to do this, and so I didn't want to do anything else once I got into it. So I was going to find a way, or I'm still, trying to find a way to make it work. So you do what you got to do. And that's what got me up. I'm not going to lie. There was nights where when you spend $30,000 here or 15 here and 20 here, you don't sleep. You're stressed. Like you're
Mm-hmm.
just kind of looking up at the ceiling. So there's some sleepless nights. I'm not going to deny that. Plus, like I said, I kind of rushed things in the beginning. I probably should have, been more patient and like reserved maybe in some things. But like, there's nights where you're stressed, and I'm not going to lie. It's not for everybody because some people want that comfort of a paycheck every week, and they want that security of retirement and doing my 30, 40 years in the company and then getting out. But I was miserable. So I can't put that in you. You have to have that.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's a lot of people that have great ideas, and there's a lot of people that work hard, but they don't want to pay the price. They're like, I don't want to do that. They want to buy the new truck. They want to go on vacation every year, which is fine. You work hard for your money, but if you don't want to sacrifice for a few years, you're not going to make it. It's just not
Yeah.
going to happen. So, um, some people are comfortable with, I wasn't married or anything yet or all that stuff. So I could do that. I didn't have to put food on the table for kids and all that stuff. So, um, that was part of it, but even if you are, let's say you have a wife and your kids, but you still want to do that, you're going to have to sacrifice.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to have to work a job at night, maybe just so you could do the stuff during the day or whatever. So, it's just more of, is it in you? It's not for a lot of people. It isn't.
Yeah.
And so, but you have to have kind of basically two things. You got to be willing to pay the price, and you have to see the end game. If you don't see the end game, if you're just seeing like, oh, I'm going to try this, no, it's not. You have to see yourself like where you right now in the corner office right there. You have to see yourself there
Mm-hmm.
doing it. If you don't
Mm-hmm.
see yourself there, it's not going to happen. So,
Oh, that is such great life advice to like kind of begin with the end in mind. I think like a Stephen Covey principle, but
yeah,
like you're making it, you're really embodying that with this advice that, get started, like do whatever it takes to get started. If you're
just start.
miserable
Yeah,
where you are, you have one life.
yeah,
Like we get one shot at this. So like jump in. You said you had no plan B. I mean, you do have kind of some, safety nets here and
yeah.
there, but I mean, you went all in. And then now you're what, 10 years into your company? No, more than that, 15 years into your company, and you're getting ready to release something next year that you're saying like, this is the new technology. This is what I want to do. So tell me about sneaker technology, because I think for a lot of folks, they might not see it as technology in the way that the rest of the world thinks about it. So I can't wait to learn from you, the expert.
Yeah, so sneakers are made in two parts. They're made in your outsole, which is like the tooling, and then the other is the upper part, whatever the upper part's made out. And so the outsole is like the most expensive. It's that you have to make molds for each new design, and then for each size. So they're very expensive. It just costs like $50,000 in molds just to start. It's pretty crazy. So when you're doing on technology, most people are in for the comfort and what they step on. So that's probably the most important part is the outsole, the bottom or the tooling and stuff like that. So um so they were working on they had this airflow technology that they had. They didn't call it that. They just called it their air. And I was like, well, we can't call that over here because another company has that. But I was like, they had it more on like dress shoes and stuff. And then so I was like, well, let's tweak it and all that stuff. And which we need to put it on like athletic shoes, lifestyle shoes, and then so we did that, and it's comfortable, it works, it's supposed to it helps with lower back pain, muscle soreness, all that stuff. It's a cushion plus a kind of an airflow system that keeps the shoe cool as it filters through the like deodorizes, I think is that the right word, the
Mm-hmm.
shoe and all that stuff. It's pretty innovative. And so what we did is that once we had it on the Hypo shoe, we sent it to a lot of former Nike people and former people that work for Adidas and stuff, just to see what their opinion was. And overwhelmingly, they were like, "You got something here. You can turn this into something," And so we know, like with the on brand, on cloud, kind of exploded the last 6-7 years with kind of a simple cloud technology. I'm not hating on them. Obviously, they awesome, but I think ours is more innovative and more versatile in what we could do with it and look wise and all that stuff. So the next step is to take it into we're going to release obviously some lifestyle shoes here in like a month, but the next step is to improve it into performance and make it lighter and more aesthetically pleasing, which, that's, I can't wait to see where that comes up, stuff like that. But a lot of it is just how you market it too. Like you could have the best technology and never market it properly, or market it improperly, and it's gonna. So that's what we're working on, is finding the right campaign to get it out there, and the right influencers and all that stuff. Maybe if we can get a celebrity or something like that that fits with us, we'll look into that. But no, we're excited. Like I said, we have something that we think is innovative that I have not seen on any other shoe, or even close to on any other shoe in the last 30, 40 years. So hopefully we cultivate it right, and we strategize properly, and we build it right going forward. And I think that we have something here, because it's, like I said, the shoe game is very expensive. Very expensive. So when you're bringing on money, a lot of it goes to the R&D of the molds and all that stuff, and that's a pretty penny, man. That costs a lot of money. So that's what a lot of my profits and stuff go right back into that. And so we're finally, hopefully in a year from now, we have stuff broadening and go in different directions as far as how we can sell, or what genres we can get into and stuff like that. So hopefully we'll be in a different place in a year from now. So I mean, an improved place, not that we're in a bad place, but just something different.
Yeah, to continue to grow. So I feel like it's always really glamorous when you think about anyone that's in apparel, footwear, even handbags, accessories, and so forth, because I think the automatic question is like, are you picking up fabrics and colors and design elements? So I would imagine the answer is yes, but how are you doing that with such a distance between where you are physically in the world and where your manufacturing is occurring?
So I flew out there last year to kind of check it out and see what's going on. And I recommend everybody, obviously, if you're getting your stuff made overseas, you should go at least once to see what it's about. But no, I mean, it's learning materials is hard. It's one thing. There's so many materials in shoes now, and color schemes, and what goes together, applications, what goes well with others is hard to. It's not easy. It is fun when you're initial designing, like on the computer, on a pad, and you're vectoring it out with different colors and 3D systems now and stuff. It's fun to see it, but it's not like it's almost like putting like a car together with, when you have a design that has a lot of parts, it's got to fit, it's got to work, and it's a pretty descriptive process, more than people would think. When you send a tech pack, that's what it's called, to the manufacturer, it's like 20 pages of
wow.
Yeah, it's like the shoe is from the left side, the right side, the top, cut open before it's wrapped around molds. Then the toolings are in different one, the components, stitch, all that. They don't know what that is when you send it over. Like it could be a different. It's not easy. But with computer systems now, and we'll upgrade all that probably here with CAD systems and all that, it can be 100 times easier. But you can still do it the basic way, where you draw it out, throw it on a computer, just vector it, label each thing what it is, and they can get a shoe done for you. But I mean, it'll take longer, but that's what you can do. So it's a fun process, but it's not simple process. So
Sure.
I don't know. Apparel's a lot easier, like a lot easier. And you can do a tech pack might only have like 10 pages and stuff like that on hoodies and t-shirts and all that stuff. It's not overly complicated, but it's fun when you're designing. Like that's the fun part.
Gosh, I bet.
So that's probably the most enjoyable part of the process. Yeah.
But it sounds like it's just such a small portion of it, where it's like that might be very easy to be kind of mystified by, and then all of a sudden you get into it and you're like, oh, you only get 2% of your time is doing that.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is for me now. Hopefully, when I can delegate more stuff out, I can kind of concentrate, kind of like what Bill Gates does with Microsoft, where he's the CEO but stepped down as a CEO just to work on the creative part, and he's not really running. That might be something in the future I'd like to, because the design part is the best part and all that stuff. So
Yeah, you could just go sit in your corner and do the visionary
Yes.
elements of it, delegating everything else out to other folks,
Yep.
seeing that like kind of all come to life. Hmm. Well, I know too that mentorship. Well, actually, before we get into mentorship, you said apparel, and you've said kind of on the side to me before, like some really interesting things about how the apparel piece ties into the hypo ecosystem. How does leveraging kind of some periphery things, because that wasn't your original goal going in, it didn't sound like. It was sneakers all the way. And then now you kind of have pulled in some apparel elements, which is great. Everything that I have, I really, really like. So, but like, can you like describe a little bit more about how apparel and sometimes maybe widening the scope a little bit helps build your brand?
Apparel is huge, and I underestimated apparel too because I wanted to be a sneaker brand. But apparel is 1,000 times cheaper to produce, manufacture. Minimums are extremely low, really not even close compared to shoes, and the ROI is immediate. There really isn't any sort of waiting for like the shoes above a certain amount of a minimum run order to make money. Like apparel is minimums are down to like 20 25 pieces. And if you want to go the easier route, you can do the wholesale route, get blanks and have your own systems and put your own logos on them. And you could do one-offs. So apparel is plus apparel. People see apparel more than shoes. Now, I was always a shoe guy, so I always look at people's feet and their shoes, what they're wearing and stuff like that. But if you're just walking in a mall or grocery store and you see Hypo or you see some brand consistently on a hat across your chest, it's gonna resonate. It's perfect marketing. So apparel's. I probably should have released more apparel early as far as just branding and stuff. Like t-shirts and hats and people seeing it. And I should have just dumped a lot of apparel, free stuff in the beginning, just because it's not that expensive to, prove that should have been in our marketing budget and stuff like that. So it's huge in marketing because, like I said, I'm different. I was always into shoes, so I always look down at people's feet and their shoes, what they're wearing. But when you're just walking in the mall, you're not going to recognize somebody's shoes unless you're, a shoe guy or there's something that pops about them. But kind of reminded of the movie Shawshank Redemption when he's walking back and he has the Warden shoes on. And the guy even says, "How often do you notice someone's shoes?" No one noticed that he was wearing the Warden shoes and stuff like that. So, but you notice everybody's. If you have a hat, a logo, a T-shirt, something different, you're going to see that consistently. Yeah. You're going to be like, "What is that? What is that? What brand is that? Or what is that?" And you see more people wearing it. You just think it's a brand. It's good promotion. So apparel is huge. And like I said, it's one of the mistakes I made too early is underestimating what apparel could do. Plus, you could be because shoes take longer to manufacture, make all this stuff. You could be raking it in on apparel on it quicker and faster and stuff like that. So if you get that side going even bigger than your shoes, why not go with that? Go with that route too, because it's cheaper to manufacture, cheaper to produce, cheaper to build, cheaper everything. The ROI can be immediate, and so it's huge.
Did that almost become like a feeder system financially to help support the rest of the company?
That's what it did. It took that. It was a majority of the income because we weren't releasing shoes every fall or every fashion cycle, which is spring and fall. We were waiting longer just because of price and all that. So it became the majority of the revenue. So yeah, it's important. And like I try to take as much pride now in apparel as I do shoes and stuff like that, because you can make some cool stuff and it's cheaper. And like I said, people see it more like, "Hey, where'd you get that hoodie?" or "Where'd you get that?" and stuff like that. So yeah.
Now, do you get involved in the design elements of what's going on the apparel piece?
Yeah, I do. And like, I'm not going to lie. It's hard to like you can get more creative with the sneaker because there's a lot more elements and components and material that can go into a sneaker. Hoodies are, if you look around, they're basically the same. At every company, through streetwear, through athleisure, through athletic wear, sport, all that stuff. There's not like a huge difference in the function or the look of it. Yeah, you might have different stitching and all that stuff, but there's not. Same thing with hats. It's hard to reinvent a hat.
Right.
Hats are
like
mostly
a
the
shape.
same. You may change the material a little bit, maybe put something, but it's hard to do that. So with apparel, it's more of like what's going on in it, what design or something like that. Like I said, but in this coming year, we're going to try to have something a little different on our functionality of our hoodie. I don't know what it is. There's like some people use kind of a scuba look. We might do something different with maybe the pockets, or just try to be a little different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not, you don't see drastically crazy mainstream hoodies that sell that are crazy components. I mean, Japan has a lot because they're kind of were the innovators of streetwear. So if you look at Japan streetwear, you'll see some pretty crazy designs on functionality on, like, you know, the hoodie, the sleeves, and kind of the baggy look. But you don't see a lot of those sold in the US. So you got to kind of look at what's out there. But we're gonna try to have our own little, I don't know, mark or component that's our own, that people know, that maybe something different on the neck area, or something in stitching that maybe we can be different.
Okay.
So
that automatically know that's yours.
Yeah. So.
Mm-hmm. You have, or I feel like I've noticed now all of a sudden people are wearing a completely different sort of fit around, like this, like the literal fit. It's becoming looser, a little boxier. Like, how do you, in a place where you're responding to cultural changes in a way that now all of a sudden people are dressing, how do you respond to something like that when you're talking about, like, on the footwear side, which probably doesn't change as much from like a stylistic standpoint, but how are you responding to these things in essentially real time? Otherwise, I'm supposed that another brand might pass one by.
So yeah, so up until maybe a year or two ago, I would say the previous 15 years, the slim fit was in, the tighter fit. I think that came upon around 06, 07 is when it started to get like that. And I was never a big fan of it. And that's what it's been the last 15 years. So now finally the baggy fit, or the looser fit, is coming back, which I like. That's more for comfort and stuff like that. So it's kind of right up our wheelhouse as far as what we want to do. So yes, I'm looking forward to that. And not just with the uppers, but like bottoms. We don't do I mean, we do some sweats, but we don't really do bottoms. So but now that it's kind of coming more of a looser fit, we might look into some sweatpants and stuff, some shorts and stuff like that. But yeah, I'm excited that it's not the slim fit, and that's kind of going away a little bit. So I remember from like my 7th grade year to my 9th grade year, how we went from like tighter stuff to baggy, and it was just like we were like we loved it. What the style started to go in the 90s, in the mid 2000s, and then it changed. It started going back the other way. So we're happy. And you know, yeah, like especially for men, I don't know. I see a lot of women wearing that too. Like the pants are baggier. They're wearing these looser sweatpants with the wider like bottoms on the trendy like little, and it is there. So yeah, it's something that we'll look into before we release like a bottom collection. But it's something definitely that is different and newer, and kind of came back. So
does that come around about every 15 years?
I think it does. Because I never thought tight stuff would ever come back. Like watching the 80s stuff, like the jeans or some of the uniforms that teams wore, I was like, and then the 90s when they went baggy, and I was like, that stuff, and it came back. I couldn't believe it. And I was like, I can't believe people were wearing it. I was like, they wouldn't wear shorts below their knees or to their knees. They were like, I couldn't believe it. Like so yeah, I think it just does. I think it's just American, you know, fashion, culture, all that stuff. So so it came back. So.
Well, that's funny that it's something that you never expected to have happen, and now here it is. So I'm sure that as an entrepreneur, especially in the fashion space that you are, with the energy and personality that you bring, you've had some opportunities that you probably never thought you'd have. Like, speak to some of those. Like, we've talked about some of the hard things about entrepreneurship and staying up late at night, but I mean, what are some of those like things that you're like, oh yeah, this is affirmation that I am doing the right thing?
Well, you get into you got celebrity events, kind of if you're checking in venues or clubs, if you're like out and about, you get in. If like there are potential sites you might throw a party at, you get in to check out. You get in with a but like celebrity, we've done like pre-Oscar events, we've done celebrity benefit type stuff, gifting suites, convention type stuff, meeting athletes, meeting people, that's the one thing that it's opened up all that avenue to I've got into places that I never would have ever gotten into, like, so that's pretty cool. So it opens up a lot, a lot of things like that. It allows you to not just with physical venues or physical events, but it allows you to get a conversation with somebody that maybe you never would have gotten to. So yeah,
Right, 'cause
it's
now you're in
part
the
of the
room.
process that that you can get yourself in somewhere where you would never got in, stuff like that. So
Well, I think that's important to kind of come back to what you were saying of like see it before you see it. And you said keep that end goal in mind, like keep the vision alive and well in your head, out in front, so that when the days are hard, there's something to just look forward to. And so for the young entrepreneurs who are perhaps hearing this, like that's also something that it's like look forward to opportunities that today would just blow your mind if you had the opportunity to be a part of it, but those will come after like subsequent yes moments that just start to
yeah.
add up and stack up. So one thing that I would love to hear about is how did you come up with the Hypo name? Because this is all of a sudden something that's going to stick with you for life. So I know, knowing you didn't take it lightly.
No,
Where did that come from?
it's a process. If you look at most names that companies come up with, there's always a backstory to them. Most of them.
Mm-hmm.
There is something that it means, maybe in a different language or two words put together, all that stuff. So, but now it's harder because there are so many companies out there. I mean, there's t-shirt companies in Mississippi that might have a name you wanted or something like that. You don't even know. So it's more difficult to come up with a name if you're going to have a national like brand than it is if you're a local, maybe service-based business in a small town. You could probably get away with something. Like the crazy things, I couldn't even use my last name. My last name is Coca. The Coca-Cola symbol is the most popular symbol in the world, I think. I couldn't, that's crazy. I couldn't even use my own name if I wanted to. So, but no, so we came up with, it was the two words higher power. Like I'm Catholic, and so I kind of wanted to represent it in a positive way to bring something. So we were trying to initially use, there was a saint, the saint of entrepreneurs and shoemakers in the 12th century, but he had a very difficult name to kind of word into a name. We couldn't figure it out. We tried like 600 different, and it just didn't work. So we named that the corporation, the St. H Corporation, but we needed a name, for the DBA, the brand. And so
Okay.
I wanted a 4-letter word. Like, so there's something about a 4-letter brand that pops. I don't know what it is. And I didn't want a lot of syllables. I didn't want a huge word. So something that was kind of catchy that would pop. So higher power is the 2 words. And I was going to spell it. And then I went from higher power to just HIPO, hypo. So I was going to spell it HIGH-PO, hypo. I was going to spell it like that.
Mm-hmm.
But people would look at it and they were like confused by it. They were like, they didn't put it together. Like they were like high, it didn't look good. So I remember someone was just like, just spell it like, the prefix, the hypo prefix, HYPO. And so that we did that. And then I send it out to like everybody I knew. What do you think? What do you think? And they're like, love it, love it, love it. So that's where it comes from. So it has a good back meaning. It's a good story, everything like that. But it's not easy to find a name. If you want to be a global or national brand, in every name you think of is probably taken. And I'm not lying, unless it's something you have a crazy, Latin meaning of something that you want to do. But even Nike, I think Nike is the goddess of victory. I don't know if it's Greek or, I think it is the Greek goddess of like victory or something. But people in the beginning were calling it Nike. It wasn't even Nike. You know what I mean? So,
Oh, great
yeah.
point.
So even that name, when you heard of Nike, the person's like, "What is that?" Like it's awkward, But you just got to find something that was important, maybe important to you or your background or whatever, or something that can click that you want to have emphasis of maybe the essence of the brand. And so we were able to find something, and we liked it. So
And
hopefully
then
you'll see. Yeah.
do you just like run down like kind of trademark registries
Oh
and naming
man.
conventions to find out if
So
like what it works will stick?
you can hire a lawyer, and I recommend that, especially if you're going to be national or global, all that stuff, because they're going to go through the USTPO website and all the things and look at all the cases of challenged, trademark infringements and all that stuff. You're gonna have to. You don't have to hire a lawyer. You could just try to register it, and they could give it to you.
Mm-hmm.
But a lawyer is going to cost you a couple grand, and then your registration is going to cost you about $1,000. And if you're selling in certain, classifications, that's another fee of what you're selling. Plus, every logo name, if you want to use it separately, you got to register it separately. So that's another cost for each one. So we could just use Hypo and nothing else, and that would be one logo. But we also have the H. We call it the H. It's like a flowy H in motion.
Yes.
That's our main. That's like Nike swoosh. That's our logo. So you have to register that in addition to Hypo if you want to use them separately. So it's going to cost you at least a couple of grand just to register them and stuff like that. So it's not what you do is you just file for a trademark for the USTPO website. They might come back and say, no, you can't have it because it's close to this. It's too close to that. It's too close to this, or it sounds too much like a famous case was the WWF, which is the World Wrestling Federation for, I don't know, 30, 40 years. They're the WWE now. In the mid 90s, the World Wildlife Foundation said we had the WWF first. And the WWE is $1 billion corporate, and they had to change their name. Wow. So that's crazy. So they had to change their name after like 20, 30 years of being a multi-million-dollar, but they had to change it. So they changed it to WWE. So someone could come after you 20 years later and say, look, I had this, either pay me some money or, so you gotta, you might want to, it's probably worth spending the money with your lawyer for them to check out all the infringement, possibilities and stuff like that. So,
So you mentioned like get this attorney in kind of in your network. Who are some of the other positions that you would recommend, like as an entrepreneur builds their network, that they should really have like the attorney to call? Who are some of the other ones?
So mine is a very specific, type of business. It's the sneaker industry, fashion, all that stuff. I would try to if you can afford it, hire maybe a initial consultant in that specific demographic that you're doing.
Okay.
Well, if you're designing outdoor wear or coats or some sort of equipment, I would try to find somebody on LinkedIn and stuff like that that's done it, and they can maybe help you get it started, because they're going to save you a lot of money and a lot of time. They're going to tell you the industry, how things are made, all that stuff. So I would hire that person, even if it's in the beginning, like a consultant, not a general business consultant. Mm-hmm. I've had many conversations with them, and they give you general business advice, and most of them are just, it's like a scam almost. Okay. It's not a scam, but they're just giving you general business advice. Yes.
Yeah. So okay.
I would try to hire somebody in a specific industry that you want to be in as an initial, maybe consultant, to help you out like that. So that'd be the main thing. And then just depending on whatever your type of business, just reach out and ask questions to somebody that maybe has experience in anything that you need to know, because consultant marketing is probably bigger than what I just told you. Marketing is huge. It's probably the most important thing. So I would have your marketing, either if you're going to hire a marketing manager, because you probably can't afford a marketing agent. They're like 50. We can't even afford those yet. They're like 15, 20 grand a month for like a proper marketing campaign. So maybe hire somebody that you could pay maybe $500 a month, $1,000 a month, maybe some marketing manager that's going to help you set up your market, because that is huge. So those are the two positions, in addition to your lawyer, that I would make sure that you have somebody. They'll save you a lot of money and probably make you a lot of money quicker than I made some. Those are some two huge mistakes I made, like huge mistakes in the beginning. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that. For other people that might have that as a blind spot and not know to go resource those particular industry professionals, because I think those are, it's like the obvious thing is like, okay, I need an accountant, I need a banking organization, I need a lawyer. Those are obvious.
Yeah.
So to hear like get the niche consultant that's really knows the industry, and then find something that works on the marketing side of it. Yeah, that's tremendous. And I think just probably overlooked, as you're saying as well. And then, of course, your comments about engaging with any resource that comes along, whether it's a neighbor down the street that invites you to something, or it's a business association within a state or community. Any time that someone has to take advantage of those, I've also seen that become very fruitful.
Yep.
So, before I let you get back to your day, I know you have probably a stacked schedule and agenda. So thank you so much for spending so much time with me and the podcast. Is there any like kind of parting words of wisdom to someone who's just on that edge of either do I stay in my safe W-2 job or do I step out? What are some of the things that you would recommend?
So a few things I would say, just start. It doesn't have to mean you quit your job this moment, but get your plan ready. So you're at a job you don't like, you want to start a business, have maybe a 6-month plan before to get it started. So you start today planning your plan to start your business. So you say, like, in 6 months, I don't want to be at this job. I'll get a couple part-time jobs to supplement while I'm starting but you got to start with your plan. That's the main thing. You have to start somewhere and be organized. And be ready that nobody owes you anything. You're not entitled to anything. Nobody cares, and nobody's going to help you. So don't have any of those expectations of that. Unless you're paying somebody, be prepared to do a lot of this on your own time. Maybe a Friday night where your friends are going out or your girlfriend wants to hang out and you don't have time, or you have to prioritize. It's just part of it. And so be prepared for that stuff. But remember, nobody owes you anything. You're not entitled to anybody's time, opinion, and make sure, like a lot of business will tell you, what's your why? Why should somebody buy your stuff? Why should somebody buy your product? Have that all in mind as far as what's going to make you different. Is it your product? Is it a new technology? Or are you going to have some awesome marketing campaign of image and all that stuff that's going to get someone to buy? So yeah, try to be, go into that knowing that it's going to, like I said, it's going to take a lot of time and sacrifice to get where you want to go. So don't, like I said, nobody owes you anything. You're not entitled to anything. If you want something in life, you have to go get it. It takes, and it takes what it takes. I think Hypo has kind of like two models: go get it, and it takes what it takes, because you don't know what it, like you may be working, and then it takes something else. You might have to pivot, and then, so it takes what it takes. You know what I mean? And there's nobody like going to save you. There's nobody going to rescue you. There's no, when you're having a bad day or a bad week or you're struggling, it's just part of it. You got to get up. So.
Such wise words of wisdom. These are like golden nuggets that you share every time that there's a conversation, whether you're having it with me or I'm overhearing something else that you've posted. Thank you for that. Thank you so much for your time. I wish you and Hypo all the best, and I cannot wait to start seeing some marketing come out about what's new and upcoming. And it sounds like I only have to wait about a month to do that.
Yeah.
So very good.
No, I appreciate it, Beth. Thanks so much. It's good. Always good to catch up. It's always good to talk. So.
It is so good to talk. It's so good to see you. You look fantastic, and I look forward to the next time that we get to connect. And in the meantime, I'll make sure to link everything in the show notes so that people know how to find you, find the brand, and then find your website.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Okay.
Thanks so much.
Thank you.